afternoon, everyone, and happy Sunday. Welcome down to a very windy Penguin Beach. My name is Jax. I'm going to be your naturalist down here today. We have Jason behind the camera. I am wearing my sharky shoes, and we are ready for today. We're excited to see what the ocean has in store for us, and I think we're going to start our day off with one very fluffy little penguin who was just flapping its wings in this strong northeasterly wind. As many of the animals do, he's just stopped as the show started. Just a reminder that we are a live show, so please send us your comments, your questions, anything you have to say really. And you can do that by commenting on our YouTube link. You could submit your questions on our channels page, or you could use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. And kids, you're going to email us at kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. And this little chick is just too cute. You can see even the penguins are being blown about by today's northeasterly wind. And you can see all of that down is also blowing in the wind. That baby is almost the size of its parent. You can just see the little flippers slowly moving as the wind gusts down here today. So with the wind, there we go, you can see the little flippers. So with the wind, we're actually going to look at the weather forecast to see what it says and then chat about it a bit later on. So it doesn't feel like 15 degrees today because despite the wind, this is actually a warm wind, and the wind is measured in two different ways. So you get the general wind speed, and today that's supposed to be about 25 to 28 knots, and then you get the wind when it gusts. And today it's supposed to gust at up to 40 knots. So you'll have sort of a very consistent wind speed, and then suddenly you're trying to make sure that you're standing. And when the wind is like this, it is very good to stand quite firmly on your feet. I've actually been blown over, not recently, but a couple of years ago, over some low poles, which was not great for the back of my legs. But this is the start of the stormy season. Dark mane lover, I think we're all ready to waddle. I think the penguins are trying to keep the waddling to a minimum today because they're just trying to keep their spot on the shoreline. And the shoreline is pretty packed. We're looking at 2 birds in the water, but the penguins are chock-a-block on the shore. The tide seems to be coming in. And so I think we've got lots of penguin action. We've been having such good luck with whales recently. I'm going to say that today, unless they are breaching, we're not going to easily spot them. But as we always do, we'll keep our eyes peeled. And we had a couple of interesting unanswered questions yesterday. The one was from Arctic Circle, asking what the most endangered groupings are of animals and plants. And the animal one is one I didn't even consider, and it is the amphibians. So those are your frogs and things, and about 21% of all frogs and other amphibians are in trouble. And then with plants, it's cycads.
Long misunderstood as dim-witted, gluttonous scavengers, the hyena over the years has had a serious PR crisis on its paws. Here at WildEarth, our beloved Djuma clan has allowed us a chance to set the record straight.
We're sitting here with the Djuma clan.
So now it's time to honor this critical animal and join our hyena hullabaloo. Trishala Naidu, a self-confessed hyena lover, will be leading the celebrations, culminating in a chance to name Ribbon's new cubs.
We're going to have a look at the sea so you can see just how many white horses we have today. Always lovely to have you on the show. You're saying that the water looks super clear and you're wondering what we might observe. Under the water, I think we might see some penguins actually swimming in as they come in, which will be super cool. I think with the surge in this region, it might be tough to see something else, but if we're very lucky, we might spot a little fish. We'll certainly see some kelp bobbing down. And there are some cormorants about, so we might see them hopping into the water too. When it is this windy, it can be a little bit tricky to try and have a look into the water. But we will always try our best to see what we can find and see what our eyes pick up. And I think that's a big part of guiding, is just letting your eyes sort of pick up whatever movement or color or anything out of the ordinary that you might find. And the longer you spend in any given area, the more likely you're to pick up if anything is strange or different, if anything's moving. Today is the first day of a few days storm. Betty Blue asking us questions down here in Betty's Bay. You'd like to know if the wind influences the tide at all. And so the wind doesn't really influence the tide because the tide is defined by the moon and less so, but also defined by the sun. But what it will do is that if the wind is blowing in the right direction, it can push the high tide higher. So if you've got the wind blowing in the direction that the sea is also moving, today the wind is actually blowing in the opposite direction of the sea, so it's actually blowing the sea fairly flat. If it's blowing from the west or southwest, perhaps even a southeaster here, what it'll do is it'll push the water into the bays and into Stony Point. And then although, you know, the tidal difference is not that different, if you've got strong winds and strong seas, it sometimes causes what we call storm surge, where you'll have often actually structural damage where, you know, buildings and stuff get into trouble because they weren't expecting the sea to be quite as strong and reach quite as high. But we are heading towards a full moon, so we are heading towards a higher high tide and a lower low tide. It's going to be on Wednesday, I believe. And for tomorrow it is very likely that it is going to rain all show long, and we are very lucky. The boat club here has been so kind to offer us their little afdakkie, which is their little roof, where we're able to sit. And so I want to ask you, Penguin Beachers, what do you want from us tomorrow?
My name is Solomon Lobu. I am working at Singita Kruger National Park. I am very excited today to be one of the guys that have been nominated or selected to participate in the Safari Guide of the Year. I'm an activator. I like starting something, motivating others to become better. I am positive. I like to focus on the positive sides of the situation.
7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Heart's cub, adventurous and brave, and daughter to one of our most loved mothers. Is her name Moya, meaning wind or soul, for that adventurous side? Is it Shiluva, meaning flower, for her growth? Or is it Mbilo, meaning heart, as Heart's daughter with a heart on her side? Head over to our website to cast your vote.
We are looking at a juvenile penguin who is nearly an adult. Just got a couple more feathers to molt, and then hopefully this juvenile is going to be less bullied. Ellie, so that's a really good question. So here in winter, our warmer is actually warmer because the westerly wind, the west and the northwest bring in warmer water. So the southeast and the easterly winds, what they do is they blow the warm water off the coast and the cold water comes up. And in winter here, the water temperature can be 15, 16, 17 degrees. So sometimes when you scuba dive in winter here, it's actually warmer in the water than it is above the land. Today's berg windish conditions, so today it's actually not that cold at all. I could very easily just be in my only WildEarth shirt. I'm just wearing the my other windbreaker just to make sure that I don't get sick. But if you are a scuba diver and you ever think about diving in Cape Town is actually much better in winter. Nobody wants to dive in winter because they think it's too cold. But if you're in a wetsuit on land, you're nice and warm, and then once you hop into the water, it's such a nice feeling. So sometimes the water temperature is actually warmer than your air temperature. And your visibility is a lot better in winter with the west wind. So that can change depending on what bay you're in, but in False Bay, where most of the scuba diving occurs, the westerly is a brilliant wind to get into the water. And speaking of that, we had a question yesterday about vicious fish in the kelp forests. And I had an ask, so I spoke to a couple of my friends. And we're just going to have some people walking by here, so it's going to be a little bit shaky for a couple of moments. And so I was chatting to my friend about it, and she says the only thing she can think of is a fish, but it's not your technical fish, because she said sometimes the 7-gill cow sharks can get a little bit funny. So the 7-gill cow shark is a very prehistoric shark, one of the oldest sharks around, and they live in the kelp forests. I've actually never seen one. I'd love to see one. But when you have low visibility conditions, sometimes the cow sharks get a bit cheeky, and sometimes they exhibit some schooling behavior, and they become curious about humans. We've just got another group of people walking past us. So it's just going to be a bit shaky for a moment. So the cow sharks here move in between the kelp forest, not often sighted, but I do know that they occur in Betty's Bay. And so one of the shark safety tips that I can give you if you want to be shark smart is to try to not swim and snorkel, and scuba diving is a bit different, but predominantly swimming and snorkeling. Try not to do it in very low visibility conditions, because those are great conditions for sharks like your cow sharks and your great white sharks to hunt. So I'm just waiting for the last group of people to walk past, and then I would love to show you the cow sharks in the book. But we were talking about it yesterday. We just had a penguin have a very awkward fall, and the chances of a shark actually interacting with you in the water is really very slim.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best. And the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
So I think we're going to go have a look at the book, and you'll have to forgive my hair because no matter how hard I try to clip it up, the wind has other plans for it. But we're going to have a look at the cow shark in the book. So when I work at sea, I actually don't clip my hair up at all because it's just a very futile exercise. But this is the 7-gill cow shark that's sometimes a bit curious about people in the kelp forests. And they do look a little bit sly. They're very slow-moving sharks, but apparently they can hunt seals. So it does show us that they are fairly intelligent and capable. So that is the 7-gill cow shark, and that concludes the answer for that question about vicious fish. But I wouldn't say sharks are vicious. I think, sharks do what sharks do. Animals do what animals do. And sometimes we find ourselves in situations with them, but for the most part, they're just doing what is in their nature and part of their instincts. What we're going to do now, we are going to head back over to the penguins. You can see just how strong that wind is by the force at which it is blowing my hair. And I think many of the birds are not going to be heading out and doing too much fishing in the next couple of days. And penguins don't have to go out and fish every day. They can spend some time on land. We've just had one penguin who's come back from sea. So that's a really interesting question. So how have penguins adapted to strong waves? I think if I'm looking at it from sort of a shore-based perspective, when it comes to being, pushed around by the waves, penguins are very blubbery. They've got very thick feathers, and so if they are to be bashed around a little bit on the rocks, their bodies tend to be very hardy, and so it's just like seals where they can kind of handle a lot more falling and a lot more bashing around than what we can. When it comes to actually being in the water in strong seas, I think that their flippers are extremely strong. So they propel themselves with their flippers, and I think that their bodies are designed to be hardy and really cut through the water and have those flippers really aid them in having them move. So I think that they've adapted to be the opposite of a delicate bird. I think their dense bones and their thick blubber layer, their thick feathers, and those very strong flippers help them to cut through the water, to move very fast. And I also think that penguins likely know how to work with the waves and not against them. So I think, that penguin's just stepped on a piece of kelp, which has now blocked his path. He's decided that he's going to take another route. So these two have just gotten out of the water. and they're having a walk over the guano rocks. That penguin's going to give us a bit of a jump, I think. He's going to preen himself before. I do wonder about penguins feeding in storms.
Seven of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Corky's cub, the boldest and proudest of the group. Is their name Koa, showing boldness, fearlessness, and bravery? Is it Kalula, as the energetic and speedy one? Or is it Zunani, the leader? Head over to our website to cast your vote. 7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Ntima's first cub, and they're turning out to be quite the handful. Is their name Loki, after the Norse god of mischief and trickery? Is it Hlongavi, the one who can't be tamed? Or is it Shihleko, full of giggles? Head over to our website to cast your vote.
What we're watching now is a little bit different. We were watching some sand actually being blown off the beach into the ocean. I think it's already kind of dissipated. Craig, so not to my knowledge, I've never seen or heard of penguins eating plants. I'll see them sometimes play with kelp and June spinach, but I've never seen them actually eat and swallow it. I think that in terms of the food that penguins need, I don't think plants offer what penguins need to eat to survive. So penguins are fussy eaters. They like sardine and anchovy, which are very fatty, very oily, very nutrient-dense fish. Even things like squid and pelagic goby isn't really good enough for them because the nutrient density is less. So, you know, with most predators, they want very nutrient-dense foods. Great white sharks are the same, orcas are the same, because the amount of effort that they have to put in to eat other things and still not get that same energy just doesn't make sense for them. So penguins are fish eating. I have mentioned they will eat other things. They have found other things in their stomach. But if you want very healthy, happy penguins who feed their chicks and raise their chicks very well, sardine and anchovy, the oily, nutrient-dense fish of these seas, is what they really want to tuck into. We were having a look at the sea. So on days like today, when you have such strong winds, if you have sandy beaches, a lot of the sand actually gets blown into the ocean and then it will settle down into the sea. And so sandy beaches are constantly being shaped by the wind and by the tides. And sometimes you do have a lot of sediment in the water. So the water's very milky. When Igor and I went for a snorkel after World Oceans Day, the water was extremely milky. I think there was also some algae in there, an algal bloom. And I think this wind direction is going to stir up the water more than it is going to give us good visibility. This is a northwesterly wind. Sorry, I was saying northeast earlier today. I was wrong. It's not northeast, it's northwest. I'm not sure why I had east in my head. Arctic Circle, I love that question. I think that if we do manage to protect at least 30% of the ocean, scientists have documented that they believe that the ocean can recover. And there are great case studies. I think there's in French Polynesia, there's a very good, I'm trying to think trying to think of some case studies now. I know that there's case studies where they've actually protected islands and the waters around islands, which has caused sharks and reef fish to repopulate, and then the fishermen actually benefit from that, because then just outside of the protective areas where they can actually fish, the fish are also better. So I'm a big believer that the ocean can heal itself. I'm a big believer that the planet can heal itself if we give it the space and the time to do so. And so that's why I love the 30 by 30 pledge and the concept of protecting 30% of the ocean. Because the ocean is a self-regulating system, and nature is in fact a self-regulating system. So humans love to manage. I know that I am very guilty of this. I'm a fixer, so I like to try and always come up with solutions for things. But what we've realized in conservation over the last 100 years, 100 years ago, people were like, we need to do this and do that, and we will manage this environment for it to be perfect. And what we've realized is that actually closing it off, letting it manage itself, there are going to be times where the ocean is going to, there's times of drought in the ocean. The old fishermen say this, in the ocean there is also drought. So there will be times naturally where the fish is less, there'll be times where the fish is more. You are going to have changes, but when we protect the areas that need protecting, it regulates and it comes back. And in the bush, also very good examples of that. Fire is natural and important. Flood is natural and important. Drought, natural and important. It's hard for us to watch and see and be a part of, but it's all part of the regulating nature of the planet. And if you look at the people that I consider the greats, if you look at Sylvia Earle, David Attenborough, Jane Goodall, every single one of those people, they're fueled by the belief that things can get better, that we can improve, that the ocean can recover.
7 of our favourite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Ntima's second born, and dare we say golden child, full of fun? Is their name Kira, the beam of light? Is it Kemba, meaning faithful in Norse? Or is it Mikateko, the blessed one? Head over to our website to cast your vote. 7 of our favourite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Ribbon's second born, with nicked ears and a softer heart full of adventure. Is their name Rangani, the adventurer? Is it Twela, the sensitive and empathetic one? Or is it Spirit, for that spirited soul we love so much? Head over to our website to cast your vote.
So we were just watching a penguin who found itself a kelp toy. He's now decided to leave his toy and move along. Darkmane lovers, so we do. I'm just watching this penguin who's trying to find something off the rocks, which is very interesting. So I saw a penguin the other day that's missing half its flipper. And seems to be doing very well. So that was really great, because you'd think that they would need their full flipper to be able to swim. So we're just going to watch this penguin because he's on a mission to find something. He's like having a look underneath this boulder. He's so fascinated. And then there's also Stompy, who's got the gimpy foot. So there are penguins who have handicaps and things that might hold them back. But you'd find with most oceanic animals, they can live with really extreme handicaps and they still seem to thrive. So half flippers, gimpy feet. We've seen birds that have had bites that have recovered quite well. I've not seen anything in terms of like deformed jaws or deformed beaks or anything like that, but there are certainly some penguins who've got some injuries. But you'd be very surprised with sea animals, how they just adapt and how they, with sharks, for example, there's some sharks that are missing parts of their pectoral fins, and so their ambush approach is very different because they know that they can't steer with their fins on their sides quite as well. And I'm sure penguins have exactly the same thing. I completely agree, Maritz Lover, that the penguins are adorable, especially when they are all hunched up like this. And I think they've all decided that today is Sunday and they won't be working. What I was saying actually earlier, completely forgot. Please let us know what you want us to talk about tomorrow. Would you like us to do lots of show and shells? Would you like us to talk about stories? Do you want to ask questions? If we can go live with penguins, we're definitely going to do that. But if we can't do that, we're still going to try to go live. So think about what you would like on the show tomorrow. And let Jared, our director, know, and then I will plan or think about whatever it is you would like me to do. I was thinking maybe we could do a bit of a sort of a whale watch where I talk you through the sensations you might experience if you were on a boat. So let me know what you think, let me know what you want, and we will do that for you tomorrow in the event that we can't show you any penguins because of the storm. Suddenly there's a bit of movement on the shoreline. But what I want us to do is I want us to go have a look at that chick, that little brown baby with its parent, because I want you to just watch what the adult is doing. Because most of our little babies are losing their down at the moment. And I think it's aided very much by the baby and the parent who are constantly preening those downy feathers. So it doesn't seem to be like the adult molt, which is very uncomfortable. The feathers just seem to fall out, and I think that the parents sometimes pull some of their feathers out.
Seven of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Ribbon's firstborn, distinct from their sibling by their full round ears and more curious nature. Is their name Matimba, meaning strength? Is it Shongela, the defender of the weak? Or is it Wiley, the crafty and cheeky one? Head over to our website to cast your vote. 7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Swazi's cub, our surprise wanderer. Is their name Saga, meaning story in Icelandic? Is it Matimu, for history made? Or is it Masingita, the surprise? Head over to our website to cast your vote.
So I think we're coming into an exciting time in the colony with these juveniles getting their feathers. Are you looking at the cormorant? I think we're going to go have a look at a couple of cormorants in the water, see what they are planning on doing. I think it's 2 white-breasted cormorants. Circle, are asking what animal would tie a penguin to, a common ancestor that would tie up to penguins. Penguins are related to albatrosses and shearwaters, petrels, the diving birds. And I think penguins have been around for 60-odd million years. I'd be up to correction from that. I need to go have a look again. I haven't read about penguin evolution in a while. What I will do is I will try and find a seabird a very old seabird. I'll have a look for an ancestor that is related to both our albatross and our penguins, and I will get back to you tomorrow on that, so we can definitely talk about that. It'll be very interesting. But many years ago they were related to the albatross, which ironically is probably the best flyer in the world these days. Sorry guys, it's just going to be a little bit shaky for a little bit. Just pretend you are on a boat and that you're on this very windy sea. I think the rock is somewhat likened to what you would feel if you were on the sea today. If I am able to actually find an ancestor, because the penguin evolutionary pool or chart is very unfinished. There's a lot missing. So it'd be interesting to see what prehistoric seabirds we can dig up and have a look for. We won't literally be digging them up. That's up to archaeologists and I believe paleontologists, the people who study bones. But archaeologists would have nothing to do with it because they do more of the people stuff. But you get some really cool, very wacky animal paleontologists. So I'll go have a look and see what I can find of their work. It looks like we've got two penguins who are having a fight. This one penguin is trying to move through all the other penguins to its detriment.
WildEarth's Hyena Hullabaloo has arrived. And just to add to the hyena hysteria, we have launched some great new merchandise. Find the latest clothing items on the WildEarth shop and proclaim yourself part of the clan with designs like I'm a fan of the Juma clan, I named a baby hyena, and more.
I just want us to have a look at that little chick again because he was stretching his little flippers, but I think as soon as we put the camera on him, he stops. You can see the adult is now also ready to rest. So that's a very interesting question. So the camera is going to come to me for just a second because we want to show you baby penguins at another nest. So you're just going to see my hair blowing in the wind and you're going to see our nesting area. And Jason is brilliant at this. One of the parents has just arrived home, so we're going to see the feeding outside the nest. Darkman lover, you want to know how many fish an adult penguin can eat in a session? Oh my goodness, look at that. Do you see that? We nearly just saw a baby penguin climb on top of an adult penguin. That was adorable. You just saw the little feet trying to get up. That was so cute. I'm going to get back to you on that tomorrow, Darkman lover. We're just going to enjoy this sighting. Such a great call, Jay. Such a great call. That was so incredible to watch. So Darkman lover, I have this feeling that it's something like, I don't know. I know that there's a certain amount of fish that they feed penguins in the rehab centers. And my head's gone completely blank on it. So what I'll do is I'll message my friend Kaylee and get an answer from her. It's not that many fish. It's not. I think if they got more than 100 grams, to me that would be quite a lot. But I will ask my friend and I will let you know. I will let you know tomorrow. Penguins will sometimes gorge themselves. The other day I found some squid on the penguin path, because sometimes they eat too much and then they actually have to throw up to be able to move. Just want us to keep our eyes on these two chicks. So they're still around about the same size, and very soon we're going to start seeing the chicks' development change. To me, the chick on the left here is far more aggressive than the chick on the right.
Here at WildEarth, we promised great monthly prizes for our explorers, and this month is no exception. If you join our club before the 10th of July, then you stand a chance to win a fabulous Safari Guide online course brought to you by Bushwise Field Guides. They specialize in accredited safari guide training with courses tailored for the African safari large industry. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer today and don't miss out on this life-changing opportunity.
The nesting area is wonderful. This has been such an incredible sighting. Even just with their back to us, you can see how big these chicks are, and watching this feeding session play out is awesome. So the chick on the left is pretending to be cute and cuddly. It actually just wants to make sure it's going to get the food. So cool to watch that. I love how the babies kind of try and get on top of each other and on top of the adults. You can see the chicks they don't peck at each other. They just they try and sit on the other one. That's their strategy to make sure that they're the one who eats. But you can see the parents are super fair. Oh, and I think the feeding might be done. Let's see. We might get another round quickly. When the little penguins get on there, I don't even know how to describe that. When they kind of lift their bodies up, it's almost like this old Victorian woman with the dresses, and it's like having the dress lift up and you can see the ankles, because you just see this ball of brown fluff, and then suddenly there's these little feet that appear below it. Very clearly a very successful nest, this artificial nest, which is fantastic to see that they've raised the chicks. Well, what do you see, Jay? Oh, is he picking at the June spinach? Oh. There's a penguin who is picking at a little bush of June spinach. They do line their nests with softer materials. So sometimes I do think they do it just to get little bits and bobs for their nest. Now this penguin has gone behind the bush. It's a tiny bush, and yet the penguin is completely hidden from my sight now. Those chicks might get one last feed from the adult. The adult is now just cleaning the babies. So it looks like we might have some people coming along the boardwalk. So I think we're going to move back towards me and then back towards the ocean and spend our last 10 minutes or so looking at the sea. But the wind is picking up throughout our show.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to bushwise field guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
I love that question. You want to know if the penguin behavior has changed since there's a storm coming? I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing a change. I'm very curious about it, but I don't feel that there's anything that I could really pinpoint and say there's more penguins on the seashore, or there's less penguins doing this, or that. I think it's interesting to sort of watch, and I think throughout this winter season, I want to try and see if there are telltale signs. I might chat to Gavin, who's worked here for many years, and see what he says. Jay, have you noticed anything? Jason's also saying we haven't noticed any particular behaviors. With whales, you can see sometimes, because they'll leave the bay before the storm comes in. You'll just have all the whales heading out into deeper water. But with these penguins, there's nothing that's given me any indication. It's also not like many have arrived back very early. But I think that's a little mission for us to actually try to find out in this season. And that's the wonderful thing about working with wildlife. The other day I mentioned we had the mystery of the Shire, where the penguins disappeared, and we actually got to see on the show how they dug a hole, and so they can actually hide within the Shire where we can't see them. And the only way to find that out is just to come out here every day. It's to watch. It's to spend more time observing them. Byron is also very good at animal behavior. So I think once Byron's back, we'll also chat to him, and we'll all keep an eye out for it. And Byron's having a great time in the bush, but he's still sending me all the rare bird updates for the Western Cape, which is very sweet of him. But we'll definitely have a look. And we also have Flippy. And Flippy will be on after Jason, so we can also get him in on it and see if there is a change in behavior. The rain we do see a change, so they tend to go into their burrows a bit, and then some of the penguins will sit out in the rain, and as soon as the sun comes out, then you'll have lots of penguins coming out and enjoying the sun. There are always a few penguins who will sit out in the rain and give us a bit of a show. And I think we've had a nice relaxed Sunday here on Penguin Beach today. I'm getting ready for the week ahead. We're going to be talking about ocean fathers, because Father's Day is coming up on Sunday. Also be talking about the scavengers of the sea in honor of the Hyena hullabaloo.
Are you a fan of the Djuma clan? If the answer to this is yes, then you are cordially invited to our Hyena hullabaloo starting on the 13th of June. During this week, we want to take a trip down memory lane. Please send in your favorite Djuma clan moments to hyena@wildearth.tv by the 7th of June, and we will dig into our archives and try our hardest to play it out during this week of Hyena celebrations.
So I thought I just saw a blow, but I think I was maybe wrong about that. And we're very soon going to be sending you over to our friends over in Djuma and Pridelands. Ali is going to go look for the lions and buffalo that she had this morning. Trishala, I don't know if you watched yesterday morning, but Trishala had that really cool mantis, like not a mantis, is it a mantis sort of pod? But she is looking for anything and everything today. So very excited to see what she finds, because she seems to have a real gift for finding the weird and wonderful. And then Taylor is going to start off at Leopard Dam, and she'll be walking today. And she's hoping for maybe some buffalo and elephants. And poor Byron has very bad leopard luck, which he's hoping so hard to break. It's 2006 the last time Byron saw a leopard. That's ridiculous. Although I must admit, my leopard, I think the last time I saw a leopard was probably 2018, so I shouldn't be too unkind to Byron. And then you guys have told me what you want to do tomorrow. Sea creature anatomy, that's interesting. Some really cool plants. So Betty Blue, I'm not going to do plants tomorrow because I've got a surprise on Tuesday, and Tuesday involves plants. Cenac, whale watch, fynbos, insects. I don't think we're going to be able to do insects tomorrow just because of all that rain. Essay Birder, tomorrow I would like various waders. We could talk about some waders. Okay, fantastic. So tomorrow what we'll do is we'll get the books out and we'll talk about some of the waders that we get. We'll do some sea creature anatomy because that's really cool. I've just had an idea. Fantastic, cool. Guys, we've got a plan for tomorrow. Like I said, hopefully we are going to look for penguins. Hopefully we do get a gap in the rain and in the weather. But in the advent of us not getting that gap, we will be able to talk a lot about anatomy. I'll see what I've got in my books to be able to show you. So on behalf of Jason, I thank you so much for spending your Sunday with us. We've had a great time. We've spent some time with that family of chicks. That was really special to me. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend our last couple of moments looking at the sea. At Cenac, thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. And let's spend those last few moments looking at our very stormy, stormy ocean. The final goodbye the birds have taken to the water. You can see all the cormorants are fighting the wind.